Thank you everyone for joining us for the Promark and Zadara webinar today. My name is Kelly Berg, Senior Marketing Manager at Promark Technology. This webinar will last approximately 45 minutes. In terms of general housekeeping, your lines have been muted for the duration of the webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box on your screen. Questions will be addressed at the conclusion of the webinar. Thanks everyone for joining, and now I'll hand things over to the Zadara team. Team, please take it away.
Thanks so much. Good morning, good afternoon, and we're glad to be here. My name is Greg Newman. I'm joined by Mark Levitt. Hi, Mark.
Morning, Greg.
Well, we're here today to talk about backup, Mark, and backup as a service in particular.
Yep.
And I think we're going to have some interesting things to talk about because, as we all know, backup is not only is it a hot topic, it's a growing market. And we're going to spend a little bit of time showing some facts and figures, and we can talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk a little bit about our unique approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's not sexy, but it is life or death. So let's go.
Well said. Before we jump into that, I want to pause for a brief commercial announcement. I can't help myself. I do run marketing around here, and I'd like to point out for those of you that don't know Zadara, you don't necessarily know too much about us. Here's who we are, a little bit anyway. We're a worldwide provider of storage as a service. We have a number of companies, in fact, many more than you see here on this particular list, but we thought we'd grab a few logos, show off a little bit. We have 250 plus points of presence around the world now on 5 different continents. And we have our expert storage support and DevOps teams on 4 continents.
4 continents.
So the sun never sets on Zadara.
And more importantly, on Zadara customers.
Exactly, well said. All right, so there you go, a little bit about Zadara. Let's dive in and talk about backup, shall we? It is a business imperative. I think we can all agree, although it's not one of those topics that is necessarily embraced to the extent that it should be. Maybe it's because it's not fun, or maybe because it's a little bit like doing your homework and it feels a little scary even.
Yeah, well, right. Well, the thing about backup is you don't need it until you absolutely do.
Yeah, right.
And I think anybody who's been providing services or in IT for more than a couple of weeks probably knows how important backup is.
Yeah, it's true. 60% of companies have experienced a data breach. IDC has told us this.
Yeah.
And this is a shocking statistic. 94% of companies do not survive if they have suffered a catastrophic data loss.
Catastrophic loss. The death rate is extraordinarily high, and usually it's because people don't realize how important their data is, and they don't back up everything.
Yeah.
So and they say, hey, I don't need to back up my email. Yeah, how's that working out for you? You know, if you're in the 94%. I just want to say one thing about the 60%.
Yep.
That 60% plus is because those are the ones that admit it.
Oh, funny point, right? It's true.
Yeah. I think that number's. I really think that number's higher.
Yeah, I suspect you're right. That leads to what we're just talking about. Leads to another important point, which is, and it's shown here on the right. 50% of all tape backups fail to restore. Well, I think a lot of people historically have used tape and have treated their backup routine as something that can be, fairly simple and kind of off to the side and in a box. And your point about data being so important these days, I think we need to consider taking a different approach, a more comprehensive approach, and understanding that backup needs to exist in a more integrated way into your IT environment.
Right, backups aren't any good unless you can restore them. You can check a box, but it doesn't accomplish what you need to accomplish. And for anybody who's been in that situation where the backup doesn't restore, it's really it's not a good feeling.
No, and so obviously it's a big problem. We know it's pervasive. We know everybody really at some point and at some level needs to deal with it. Let's put some numbers to that. We're talking about many billions, obviously, and growing. I think this slide really kind of captures it perfectly.
Yeah, that's a strong CAGR right there. And so this is the good news side of it, right? I mean, there's a huge problem. You combine the growth of primary data with losing it is really, really bad and possibly fatal, very possibly fatal. And then you have a great opportunity then to address that pain, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now there's a number of ways in which people are attempting to approach this market and are looking to address the backup and disaster recovery problem. We're going to talk about backup as a service in particular, and I thought we could start by talking about maybe 3 good business reasons why You might want to deliver your own backup as a service if you are an MSP or you are perhaps a VAR or reseller that's aspiring to be an MSP.
Yeah.
There probably is no better entry point, I would believe, to get into the MSP business than backup.
Yeah, I agree. It's a constrained solution.
Yeah.
It's got good boundaries around it, and it's not to say it's completely simple, so don't misunderstand me there. If you go into it, certainly if you go into it blind, it can be really painful. But you go into it with strong partners who know what they're doing, and it's got a really good boundary around it. You're not trying to solve every problem. You're not trying to boil the ocean.
Yeah.
You're solving a cloud backup problem.
And it's sticky.
And
right?
it's sticky.
Yeah, which I think is really key because we have customers, all of us, that have lots on their plates and limited attention spans, and they're looking to their partners to be more strategic than ever. They need partners that are going to help lift some of the load, and that means a partner that's going to come to them with solutions that address problems on both a strategic and a tactical level, not just technology, but this is the business case, the business problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, if you want to see a happy customer,
mm-hmm.
It's the opposite of the bad news, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's when they do a restore and it works. You just built a bunch of trust.
Yes.
With that customer.
Yes, exactly. And so let's talk about that's a great jumping off point for talking about what happens with happy customers. This is what happens. Yeah. It's pretty simple. When you're in the service business, this stuff tends to compound.
Yeah. Yeah. To paraphrase Warren Buffett, compound growth is the most powerful force in the universe, and there you see it at work.
This is an actual
for an actual partner.
Yep.
And what happened with them? Because what happens is then you get to go deeper and broader as you build that success, and because you're delivering as a service, you're not constrained to the typical CapEx cycles that would slow down this kind of growth.
Well said, right? That's exactly true. It's a much smoother operating model in many respects. All right, look, we've got to sort of begin to describe the elephant here. There's a lot going on, and we need to talk about what do we mean when we talk about backup and disaster recovery delivered as a service. Well, we've been doing it a long time. We know what it takes to do that. It's not as simple as standing up a little bit of technology in your data center, maybe throwing some third-party software at it and saying, voila, we're in the business of backup. There's a lot more to it. We believe, for that reason, that we can be a valuable partner for companies that want to get into the backup as a service business, because we've managed to build what we believe is a complete solution, is how we like to talk about it.
Yeah, and that piece about being able to handle different workloads and different tiers, even of your backup solution, where you have multiple tiers of the backup solution with the same solution. It's just another piece of the simplification. Yeah,
exactly. The idea then of for those of you listening and what we're talking about today, if you want to turn around and offer backup as a service, wouldn't it be great to know you have a partner who's doing the heavy lifting on the technology as well as on the business side, and being able to provide you with a system that's 100% OpEx, fully secure, gives you features and functions that allow you to have total control and management, be able to do a separate billing for separate customers, really a turnkey solution, in other words.
Also, the fact that it scales up and scales down, and this goes beyond a backup use case.
Yeah.
Because backups don't scale down very often.
True.
But certainly for somebody trying out a new business model, the ability to scale up as your demands increase is very useful. But also, if the conditions change, it takes risk out of it. If you can also shrink down your footprint.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about what some of those scenarios might be, and the easiest one to start with, and the one that I think a lot of people think about, is backup to object storage.
Yeah.
So for those on the webinar today that are maybe a little technically minded, we're going to get into some fun stuff now, because you can see how in real world scenarios how this can actually work. We have an integrated backup to object storage functionality in Zadara's software. And you can see it's about as easy as checking a box and firing it up, backing to object store, and then replicating, by the way, and this is an important bit, right, Mark? Replicating to third-party cloud storage is very much an option.
Absolutely, and it's used a lot with the backup to object store option. The three best things, in my mind, the three best things about backup to object store is it's dead simple. It's automated, so you have policy-based stuff, but it's really simple and integrated. It does allow you to target third-party storage, and then there's a restore option that allows you to instantly mount those backups back out through our technology to instantly gain access to it. As soon as the backup's done, you can access it.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that. I was just talking to one of our customers who used that feature to good effect when they had an issue, and they were, back up and running in, seconds, as he described it, virtually instantly.
Yeah.
As a result of having that.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. And that, in their case, it took longer to the long pole in the tent was the rest of their infrastructure. They had access to data back immediately, or as close to immediately as you can reasonably do.
Now, not every backup scenario is necessarily going to be that simple, and in fact, we don't recommend that it is always that simple.
That's right.
Working with third parties like Commvault, Veeam, Segra, Zerto, these are all partners of ours.
Yep.
We have the ability to play a role in a streamlined and yet very deep multi-tier backup scenario.
Yeah, and this highlights what I was talking about before is you, especially when you're using these enterprise class backup and data management applications, they have multiple tiers because they're doing multiple things. And for instance, when they're doing the initial backup, it's important to have pretty fast storage to get your backup done quickly and to do your pre-packaging, do your data compression, encryption. All those kind of things want to happen on fairly fast storage. But once you're done with it, then you want to follow the 3-2-1-1 kind of approach and get it into different media types in different locations to ensure that you can always get it back.
And of course, then the virtue of having Zadara play a role at each one of those stages is simplicity, greater integration.
Right. It's a strategic simplification of your backup operations, backup restore operations.
Yeah, we talk a lot about simplifying, don't we?
Simplification is a good thing.
It really is. It really is. Business continuity. We have a number of features and functions that really can aid in that, and these again are integrated into our software. The advanced snapshots I think just mentioned.
Well, the advanced and just going into one other customer case, because snapshots are generally thought of just as a piece that supports backup.
Yeah.
But they can also be there for business continuity in the event, for instance, of a ransomware attack, where you can, essentially, as close to instantly as you can go through it, go back to a previous version before the attack and restore that very, very quickly. And that's how you don't wind up in that 94% that wind up, not unable to continue operations. So, snapshots are more, and the ability to run a lot of snapshots without consuming very much capacity is actually a business continuity feature.
Nice. We've talked about different features and functions. I want to take a moment to just summarize what we've been talking about. I know that when we dove into this pool a few slides ago, we were talking about backup, but of course we're a complete enterprise storage as a service platform, not just backup, but other workloads and other types of storage as well. And I think it's important to point out that this was built, and of course we were founded in 2011, and our founders thought ahead and said, if we can somehow combine the power and the control of enterprise storage and all the features and functionality that we expect with the agility of the cloud and the cloud model, we really have something.
Right.
And that's in fact what we did.
Right. I like to say that we were doing this before it was cool, and we've been in the market, and that has practical impact because we've been doing this. We've been in the market for 7 years, basically, delivering into production environments, and you just don't find that anywhere else. Our experience with this model is unparalleled, and that means that you can count on us to deliver it, right? Because our life is dependent on it for 7 years, and our customers' lives are dependent on it. And so this is not some new cool thing that we just decided to try.
Oh, it's a good point, and I do want to take a moment to point that out because we should be proud, and I know we are proud of the fact that we are a complete solution because we take the point of view and we take the stance in the market that we're a services company first. And I know there are a lot of technology companies now that are looking to get into this game or are beginning to offer things that look similar to
or
this.
at least talk about it.
Yep. And unfortunately, they're constrained by their operating models. They're constrained by their technology choices. We have none of those constraints. We were built from the ground up to do this.
Right. The point on the slide, we were built to manage the storage on a massive scale. We're built to do it on as a service basis. There's one thing to throw in here, and this goes into, we're talking about backup and recovery today, but for MSPs and aspiring MSPs, this is also a key to know that the partner that you engage to enable your backup and recovery operations can also support other kinds of services by just expanding your relationship.
Right, that's a good point, right? And I
with
know
the same tools, I want to.
Exactly. So there's that simplicity thing again, right?
Simplicity thing.
Yeah.
Simplicity of operation, reduced number of vendors, as well as the specific operations on storage.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, and I don't know that we said this quite so clearly, you're only paying for what you use at Zadara. So feel free to go up. You said earlier, go down, add new services, add new features and functions, bring new customers on. You're only going to pay when you use it.
Yep.
What are you getting? This is a slide I know has a lot going on it, but it's got some really important points to make. Let's talk about it. So,
right. Yeah, and what I like to say here is that, for people who are familiar with server virtualization, a diagram like this is fairly understandable, and it should be. It's at a high level, we're doing some very similar things, but the key here is we're spreading these virtual private storage arrays across multiple physical machines. That's one piece. So you get the availability across multiple physical machines. And then understand, and this is that subtitle, right, that for every virtual private storage array, or VPSA as we call it, you have dedicated cores, dedicated memory, dedicated drives, dedicated cache. It is not a shared resource. It is a dedicated resource. So that means that then what we call the multi-tenant efficiency with a single tenant experience, for an MSP that, for instance, wants to take this storage on premises, and you can do it on premises or in our storage cloud. That's another level of flexibility. But say you want to put it on your premises to provide your services. That means that you can support multiple customers with the same hardware and know that each customer gets their own resources and therefore is guaranteed a consistent high level of performance. You don't have what we call the noisy neighbor problem, right? You don't have somebody else sucking up all the resources or impacting their performance. That leads to happier customers, which leads to less angry customer phone calls.
Yep, and the customers that are perhaps in regulated industries or they have data sovereignty issues.
That's an excellent point.
These are also well handled.
It enhances security too, because your data is not mixed with other people's data.
Yeah. We just talked about this.
Hey, wait, security. Well, but this is encryption. This is a specific piece.
True. Let's just point this out. This is, one of those key components that it seems, deceptively easy, but no, making sure you have a secure environment in a cloud model takes some work, and we've got it down.
Right, and most of the people that are supplying encryption for some type of cloud-based data are doing it with keys that they control, and that's the real separation here. We do it in flight, we do it at rest, and we do it with your keys. So please don't lose the key because we can't help you.
Exactly. All right, we're talking about control. Let's point out that although we do operate as a service, and although we do have experts around the globe that do operate 24/7 to support and manage your storage, the fact is that ultimately you are in control, and you can take as much control or as little control as you like through our web-based interface.
Right. Well, and the key here is that you are the expert in your customer's requirements. We can't tell you what your end user. We can give you profiles, right? That say, hey, here's the kind of things they're going to want. But when you're dealing with actual customers, you're going to have, you are the expert in their requirements, and this is where you get to make sure that the requirements are met in the way you want to meet them.
So really what you're saying, Mark, is that, and we see this with our customers, right? You get to do all the stuff you know you need and want to do to help your customers plan and manage their storage and their IT more broadly. But you've got a partner that lifts some of the more burdensome parts off your shoulders.
Yeah.
You can spend time doing other things.
Right, exactly. You're running the front end of the back end, as it were.
Yeah.
Right. You're saying what kind of storage you want and how much you want for the customers and what you want the characteristics to be, but that all gets handled by somebody else. And I just want to hit some of these sub bullets here, which is that you do have information back from us to help you do that. So you do get the analytics and the performance. You get the alerts, even though we're backing you up behind that, you get alerts. We talked about the elastic provisioning, the chargeback actual usage. This is a big deal, and it's not just a showback. It can be set up as a chargeback. Yeah. This is one of those features we added into our software early on because we saw that this is a big part of what you need if you're. This is what a service provider needs.
Yeah.
And again, the uniform interface across all the virtual private storage arrays that you manage.
Yeah, keeping it simple again. All right, so we do like to talk about this as a platform for MSPs, a platform to transform your business from dealing with storage perhaps in the legacy cycles, dealing with limited capabilities through the public cloud vendors. You now have an option that can really transform your approach to storage and the provision of storage services to your customers.
Yeah, and the distinction, again, lots of people are making claims now, and they're conflating OpEx with storage as a service. And that's it's easy to where that conflation happens, but it's not the same thing. OpEx is a billing thing, and it's important. Yeah. We think it's important. We agree with it, and we've been doing it for a long time. But delivering storage as a service is not OpEx. It's delivering storage as a service. Right. It's a services-led piece. So everything you work with us is a service, and in that service is comprehensive. That service is comprehensive. So yeah, you get the features of enterprise functionality. You get block, you file, object within the offering. We talked about the dedicated resource. We talked about the elasticity, the ability to grow and shrink and only pay for what you use. But this is one we haven't talked about yet, which is the hardware and software upgrades. Again, this primarily applies to on-premises implementations, but this is another feature that is really just, I don't know anybody who does this, and it works this way. It is this simple. When we release a new option, so we recently released NVMe drives, and say we release a new technology in cache or whatever it is. To get that upgrade, here's what you do. You ask for it, and we will schedule and put it in, and there's no cost to you. This is not a marketing thing. People scratch their heads hard when we tell them about this model, but it's real. You are entitled to any upgrade you want after we release it. And the upgrade will not cost you anything. Now, if the billing rate of what you want is different than the billing rate of what you currently have, then your billing rate will be adjusted. However, a lot of the time, about half the time, your billing rate actually goes down. Right. And in the case of I just mentioned the NVMe, that was true because the NVMe drives are also larger than the previous generation of SSDs. And so the billing rate actually went down. So people not only got a free upgrade, they actually paid less going forward. So that is an entirely unique model. And you talk about something that is really beneficial to service providers. And we have service provider customers that have already done that like 3 times. Yeah. Because and that's how they stay on the right part of the cost performance curve for storage. And when they make that change, like you're talking about, for their own planning purposes, they're not having to provision lots of capital. They're not having to look at 3 to 5 year planning cycles. It's just when it's time, it's time. Right. Yeah. It's just an operational planning exercise with our ops team and their ops team, and when they actually do it. And a quick note on changes like that. Anytime there's changes like that, our experts, the ones that I mentioned earlier, never go to sleep. They're on 4 continents. We walk our customers through the upgrades. We walk them through and have processes and software for migrations.
But really,
well, we don't just walk them through it. I mean, we actually will execute it with them.
yep, exactly.
So, this is not like we just send you some hardware and say, there you go,
yeah,
knock yourself out. The hardware goes into the box, that's the beginning, and then they work with you to move the data. If this is a new media change, for instance, they work with you to move stuff over seamlessly so that your customers stay happy and then get happier.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's all part of the service. I mean, this is when you
and that's the point that I want to keep making.
Yeah.
It's the storage of the service. This is a comprehensive service. Yeah. It's not, it's not a nickel and dime you on every different piece. It is pretty much everything you want is included.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not just a business model. It's not just a payment model. Right. It's really a whole approach. Well, we've spent some time this morning, this afternoon, for those of you who are on a different time. We're on the West Coast, folks. That's where we're located.
We're still thinking morning.
Yeah, and we're glad we've had a chance to talk about these issues. There's so much more to talk about, obviously, when it comes to backup. For those of you that would like to learn more, we do recommend a couple of things. First of all, we recommend you come check us out on the web and even sign up for a free trial. It's no credit card, it's truly free, it's easy, and what will happen is you will begin a process of engaging with our experts, the ones that we've been talking about. You'll get on the phone with them, talk about your needs, they'll walk you through the setup. We like to do that kind of a real close and step-by-step process because we want to make sure that you're able to go deep and understand all the value that you can get in our platform. So this is not a hands-off free trial. This is very much a hands-on free trial, and we encourage anybody who's interested to do that. You may have questions. Please feel free to put them into the questions space here, and also, of course, to reach out to us on our website or through our other channels, social media, and so forth. Ask your questions. Maybe there's materials on our website that help answer some of that.
Sure. Operators are standing by.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Just one more thing on and I know you've been hitting these points, but I just want to underline, with the free trial, you're not just trialing the storage capacity, you're trialing the service, which is why it's a full engagement free trial. So if that's something that makes sense to you, if you're ready to do that, I think that's a really good option to try it out, see if it's as simple as we say it is, and see if the service is as good as we say it is.
I agree. I find there's an expression I like to say: the closer you look, the better we appear. Yeah. Zadara, and we really mean it. I know we stand behind it. And so let's take questions if you have them. Today we have some time left. I'm glad we got through that material with some time left over.
It was the extra coffee.
I think you're right. I think you're right. It was. Let's see now. We have questions. Okay, here's one. There's a question about minimums and our billing and how that works. How do you get started? Well, we do have some minimums, of course. We're not.
Well, it depends on which model you try, though, right? I mean, if you go on for an MSP, if they're going on-prem.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's the minimums really depend on. There are minimums. They're quite modest, and it depends on how you want to scale with it. The thing I would say is that if you're planning a backup as a service, since that's our discussion today.
Yeah.
You want to think in terms of planning for a fair amount of expandability in your capacity, because this is part of why the business is so sticky. You know, backups don't go away; they just keep getting added to. I mean, sure, policy-wise, you can get rid of old backups, but people mostly don't. And so you want to go ahead and design your solution with a low entry point, and the entry points are compared to what you should be able to do in a backup business. It's very low. But you want to go with, I think I would advise going with the bigger capacity expansion, right? Yeah, we have an option for a fairly small one, and I don't think that's really the right answer for a backup as a service, because you're going to wind up in more capacity than that.
Yeah, in the cloud, one of our data centers in the cloud, and using the smaller capacity, you're right. I mean, you'd be starting in the several hundreds of dollars a month, not much.
Yeah, it's just not much.
But to do it on your own prem and to get the greater capacity, the higher capacity, you know, you're at couple of grand a month. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
talking about a lot compared to what traditionally the investment would be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, just on the investment point, so we've talked about it, the investment around, you don't have to worry about the capital acquisition cycles, and that's not just capital dollars, it's capital effort, right? I mean, you're going through the things that you would go through to justify capital expense, and the complexity. You don't have to build a storage team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
And that's why you can launch your business, certainly from the storage perspective, and that's what's nice about the backup use case, is it's a lot of storage. Storage is a very big piece of that offering. You can offer that very quickly because you don't have to build a storage team and you don't have to build out your own infrastructure. You got to have rack space and power and cooling.
Yeah. And
you got to have customers.
Right. That's exactly right.
And we'll take care of the rest.
We take care of the rest, right? You run your business, we'll run your storage. Yeah. Basically, is what we like to joke. I have to see another question here. I have a question about Veeam. So this is one of our partners.
Yes.
And I know we didn't talk too much about our partnership, but let's talk about Veeam and how we work with them. We have been doing a lot with them lately. And in terms of backup, the multi-tier stuff we were talking about earlier, in fact, I can flip back to that slide. It might be good to do that while we talk about this. There it is.
There it is, yeah.
Now, Veeam fits in nicely in a scenario like this.
Yeah, and I,
Others too.
Well, others too. However, a clue is in the fact that we use 3211 here in the slide title, which is kind of a that's a kind of a Veeam thing.
That may be where the question came from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
they probably picked up on that.
Yeah, right. They might have picked up on that. So yeah, this is one of the things that that the Veeam people that we've worked with are really enthusiastic about, is the fact that we can support all those different tiers with the same relationship and the same technology. So if you want high-speed primary storage, you want backup to secondary, you want offsite, and you do want offsite.
Yes, you do.
About that. That's a big value add for your MSP, is you are offsite as soon as they back up to you. And then for colder copies, then you can actually start putting things out into the object store, and it all comes under the Zadara umbrella, and it comes under your billing arrangements, and it all goes towards your monthly commitments.
Exactly. Yeah, I know we don't see examples of Veeam customers and scenarios, but we have a number of them, and I suspect because of this question that somebody on our webinar may be interested in learning more about that. Please check out our website. You'll find more information about all of our backup third-party vendors and our backup solutions in general, and you'll see some terrific case studies as well, and some of the things we've done in this regard. And of course, if you don't see what you're looking for, give us a holler, and we'll be happy to tell you more. All right, so we got time for a few more questions. I don't want to keep people too long on the line, but we've got time for a few more, and then if we don't get to your questions today, we will disseminate answers later. We'll be happy to answer them offline. This is a technology question. I guess we can go back. It's always good to go to the right slide, right? So the question is, truly private? Is that right? Resource isolation? Yes.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. For the duration of the existence of VPSA, those resources are locked to it. They do not get switched. So again, the cores don't switch around, the drives don't, of whatever description, the cache doesn't, the memory doesn't. It all gets locked down. And this is where the patented technology lives, is in the ability to do this. And so it is truly private, down to virtual channeling on the network interfaces.
Well, this is I think because this approach is that I'm gonna use an overused word, hybrid.
Oh, there it is.
Sorry to bust that out. We need to define our terms now because hybrid is used so often in so many ways. But this is that perfect hybrid of the enterprise control and the cloud agility, right? Here we have the ability to run multiple clients, but to do it with total isolation, and to be able to charge back to them and bill, for MSPs in particular, the feature to be able to charge back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is so critical. All right, so I know we have lots that we can talk about when it comes to our systems. But I think we've given, I hope, our audience a good overview of what backup as a service can look like when you bring Zadara in as a partner.
Yeah.
And we would encourage you, if you're thinking about backup as a service as something you'd like to add to your business, or perhaps you already offer backup as a service, and maybe you're looking for a way to streamline that, looking for a way to do it with less effort on your part, we'd encourage you to please reach out. Please come check us out. Let's flip back to, there it is, the free trial. If there are no more questions, Mark, do you have anything you want to add? I don't want to miss anything today.
No, I think we've hit the points we most need to hit.
Yeah.
So I'll just defer to any questions we need to follow up on. And
yeah, we'll do that.
And yeah, but again, reach out to Zadara or Promark, and we'll get your questions answered.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Promark, for the chance to present today. We've enjoyed it. We want to thank everybody who has attended. We are going to be recording this webinar, and the webinar will be available for later for those of you that may want to go back and listen to it, or for anybody that missed it. So again, thank you everyone for attending, and we look forward to talking to you again in future. Bye-bye.